Hi, welcome back if you're returning. Today's video is a trash to treasure video. It's new items that I've picked up and a couple of items that I've had for a little while. Some of these items were picked up at the Victorian porch in St Catherine's. Unfortunately, I didn't have my phone with me the day I visited here, but it's a great little place. It has all sorts. It sells antiques and also crafting supplies. One of the first things I picked up in there was this antique clock. It doesn't actually work, but it doesn't need to. It's very Art Deco inspired, and I have some great ideas for this. I'm going to have a look at the inside, see if I can fix it, but I just like the fact that it's a lovely old clock. This I think was $15, and it's just lovely. It's got a really old face on it. The patina's lovely. I'm going to be painting this in an Art Deco style, very similar to the clock that I decoupaged with the William Morris paper. So I'm going to use all those colours, and hopefully that'll be transformed for you for my next video. But you can see all the woodwork and all the little intricate little carved pieces, and I'm really looking forward to doing this one. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for all your lovely comments. I am slowly getting over COVID. I'm no longer contagious, but it has certainly taken the wind out of my sails. Okay, so back to the job at hand. I did pick up some transfers. I've not used these before, not these type. I picked up a couple, an Art Deco style, which is William Morris, and then some lettering that will go on furniture. And then these are for doorknobs, but I've put them in various places around the house. I did find this picture. This is something I don't see or find very often, so I did pick it up. It was quite damaged, but I knew that I could repair this with my paper clay and a bit of gilding and paint. So I just used my paper clay and my moulds and made a few shapes that I thought would look nice on the picture frame. Once I laid them out where they had to go, there was a couple of little repairs and then a whole new piece that had to go on. I laid them out, let them dry, and then stuck them down the following day, and then I painted everything black, just to give myself a whole new fresh start. And then I decided I was going to gold leaf it, just on the high spots, and give it a proper antique finish. So I did paint it all with a chalk paint, which was a dark, very, very dark grey. Once that was dry, I went over it with the gold leaf and then just put it on the high spots of the ornamental pieces of the picture frame. And then I rubbed it off, as you can see, with a brush so that it was literally just on the highest points. And that way, once it was done, I could go back over it with a brush to get rid of the excess, and then I would go over it with a little bit of the chalk paint again, just to tone down the gold. Once this was done, I took a small bottle of the gloss Mod Podge. This I picked up from the dollar store and went around the whole of the frame, including the gold leafing that I'd just gone over. This is just to give it a nice finish. I didn't like the matte finish, but it was too much of a contrast between the gold and the chalk paint, so I decided just to go over it all in the gloss Mod Podge, and it just gave it a nicer finish. Over to the fireplace. Now, if you remember, the beginning of the summer, I put the MacTac around the fireplace to give it a nice French country summer look, and decided that these little transfers would be perfect to give it that French country tile look. So I decided how many tiles I needed and then cut out a number of the little transfers and just added them to the middle. I did a repeat of 5 and just went over the whole of the fireplace. As I was working on them, they took some work. You really have to press hard to get this to stick to this plastic paper. And as I was going, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick them on and see how I like it, because you know, in your mind, a lot of the time you have something and it looks a certain way, and this wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to look. But in the meantime, it has grown on me, and I'm very pleased with how it's turned out. Now, this next project is something that I've been planning for a long time. I've been trying to find the right transfers, and of course that's what I found when I was at this little antique shop. I had the secretary desk. I decided that I was going to add some of the transfer writing to the front of it. It's quite damaged, it's quite old. I picked it up on Kijiji. I think it was $10. It wasn't going to make a difference. If it didn't work out, it was no great loss. So I taped off the space that I wanted, gave it a quick sand, and then I painted it with the same chalk paint that I'd used on the picture frame. You can see that down beside the unit there. So this was it. It was just plain chalk paint, very, very dark grey. And because I wanted to provide a nice contrast between the writing on the transfer and the background, because obviously it's a very similar colour to the background of the wood that's already there. So I gave it 2 coats of the chalk paint, and this was actually overnight. I left the paint overnight to cure, and then decided which of the transfers I was going to use. Now, I had 3 transfers in the pack, and there was a couple of really nice ones. The issue that I had, this was a nice one, but it was for a cafe, and I thought, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. And then the transfer that I actually used was for, I think it was for a library. So that's what I went with. Once the paint had cured overnight, I did give it a very light sand just to take all the bumps and marks off, and it was a nice fresh start then for the transfer. I laid this transfer, I wasn't using it all, I was using it all on the unit, but not all in one spot. So I chose the pieces that I was going on the front of the desk, and then the rest I cut in, I cut them into long pieces and then added them onto the drawers as I went. So once the pieces were ready to go, I stick them down with the green painter's tape, and you just want to make sure that it's as flat as it can be, it's as stuck down as you can possibly get it, and then you just take the little stick inside the set that you get and you just rub the living daylights out of it. You go over it a good 2 or 3 times to make sure that it's all left the paper and is now stuck to the unit or the piece that you're working on. You very, very carefully remove the top layer which has held the lettering initially, and this worked out perfectly. And then I worked my way down the front of the unit until I got the finish that I wanted. Now, I recommend that you take a very soft cloth and just go over all of the wording again. It doesn't matter if you peel a little bit off. You want this to look vintage, you want this to look like it's been there for a while. So I went over it all with the little tool, and then again with a nice soft cloth to make sure that it was all laid down and stuck properly. I also went over it with a small paintbrush and the same grey black paint, just to again give it that vintage look, that worn look, just in places here and there, and then wiped it back off with the soft cloth. And you can see the finish it's great. It looks really well. You can see here, this is where I've cut them in pieces and added them to each drawer front. Again, this is a very, very dry brush, just with a touch of the initial colour, and just literally rubbing it over in more spots, some spots than others, and you're just giving it that worn look. And if it's too much, you can wipe it off with your fingers, I did there, or with the soft cloth, and it just gives it a really nice worn look to it. Now, I did also add one of the transfers to the front of an old blanket box. I just did the front to see how it turned out, because the colour was too close to the original wood colour, so I painted it with a mix of white chalk paint and the grey, and I liked it, so I'm going to do the whole box when I move this to another room before the fall, and it'll be in my next house tour. It was really nice to get some of these little jobs finished, especially the secretary. That's something that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. So now that the summer's sort of coming to an end, and being stuck in the house sick for a week, it certainly has made me go a little bit stir crazy, and I have decided to make a few changes around the house before the fall, or in time for the fall. So once summer's over and the weather starts to go cooler again, I will be changing a few things around. There are going to be some changes at the house, but I will touch on that in an upcoming video. But I'm getting to the point where I'm feeling a little crowded, and I need to start like I said, dispersing things throughout the house and moving a few things around. So once, because it's still summer, I'm still enjoying the lovely weather, and I'm not eager to rush towards fall, whereas I love the fall weather and I love it when it goes cooler. We all know what comes after that, and nobody wants winter, especially in Canada. So over the next few weeks there will be some changes being made, but like I said, I will be touching on that in the next videos. I do have a couple of upcoming thrift flips that I wanted to show you. This was from a few weeks ago, but I hadn't showed you any of these items. They were supposed to be in obviously last week's video. I'd picked up this little lamp, and it was one of those things where I looked at it and it was thought, okay, do I love this or do I hate it? And I picked it up and I do love it. It's got a little bit of damage, but I have got a box with all these lovely little crystals from chandeliers that I've had in the past. So I will be replacing some of the chandeliers, but in the first place I'm going to take them all off, and I'm going to spray this, and I'm going to spray it white, I believe. I want to give it a proper French country look, and it works perfectly, but I will be working on that over the next couple of weeks, so that will be in an upcoming video. I have something planned for the hallway, but then again, I'm jumping the gun, and I picked up some really pretty linens. This is just gorgeous. Again, it's two runners. One will go lovely in the table in the kitchen, and then the other one is a nice long one, and again I thought would be for a hallway table. This suitcase was, I think it was $5, and it is all leather. It is beautiful. It's got a little bit of staining inside, so I haven't got round to it yet. I've deodorized it, and I'm going to see if I can get the stains out from the inside of it. And I'm going to I've had a look on Pinterest and found some old shipping labels from the 1920s, and I thought I'll just pick a couple of those and then I'll stick them to the front, and this can then go in the mudroom as part of the mudroom makeover coming up in the next few weeks again. So this was an absolutely lovely find. I find these suitcases are great to keep like your winter scarves and gloves in, because they're right there. They look great when they're in these containers, and they're really handy to just open up the suitcase and there's all your gloves and hats for the winter. And finally, I did find this little gavel. It was so cute. I think it was $2, solid brass, and I have put that away in the living room in my cabinet, along with a couple of other little items that I keep in there. And I also wanted to show you quickly the little brass hangings that I'd found the other week. I just soaked them in ketchup and they've come up really quite beautifully. So I just wanted to show you those. So I hope you enjoyed this little thrift haul and my trash to treasure flips, and we'll see you next week with some news about the house and some upcoming projects. See you then.